What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Hope you're all doing well today. Today we're back on some MX bikes and a little bit of a different one today. So usually the tracks that we cover on this channel tend to be the ones that have had months and months of work put into them, you know, fully fleshed out with all custom models, textures, etc., whatever it may be. However, we go in a completely different direction today. This is a track that took 5 hours to build from start to finish and is typical Canadian's most recent release. And I just kind of want to see what's possible with a little bit of brain power and a small amount of time, because I myself have been just on the edge of wanting to dive into track making for quite a while now. And it's just a case of knowing of how much time you have to dedicate and put into it. Now, granted, TC has done tracks in the past, you know, this isn't his first time here, so he has that experience under his belt. But for 5 hours and what I've just flown around here, looks like a very nice, smooth, flowy sand track. I'm going to bump the road up a bit as well, so we can hopefully get some lines dug in. And I'm just going to see how it goes. Should be good fun. Looks like it's a very simple, straightforward track for you beginner/intermediate riders. And I'm on the Honda 450 again. As you know, we're rocking that same setup I always do. And let's get into it. I also want to show off this sexy little number of a skin that we're riding right now. This is created by JVDL, and I will put a link to it in the description down below. But it's just what I'm running for the time being whilst my Honda FXR skins are being made. I do apologise to Mr. 327, part of the Blitzco guys, as he makes my my FXR skins in the first place. And I did say to him that I'd be riding the Yamaha for the most part, but now I've switched things up and gone down the Honda route. He has to make a new skin for me, so I'm hoping that'll be sorted by Friday for round 2 of Outdoors. But for now, we're rocking that Honda life, and I'm going to see how it goes. And I'm actually feeling super comfortable on this bike. If you didn't have a chance to tune in to my live stream on Monday for the EU MXGP, it was at Uddevalla in Sweden, and I don't know if I was just having a good day, maybe it is, maybe it was just a case of luck, but I felt so good on the bike. I don't know how to explain it. Everything felt really smooth and consistent. Felt like I was flowing, didn't get any like unwanted surprises at all. So I'm hoping that I can kind of, with time, get even better on the Honda, and hopefully that carries me through to the AMA series where I didn't have the best of first rounds, you know. I mean, EU I couldn't do anything about with that disconnect in Moto 1. Well, not disconnect, game crash, you know what I mean. And then in NA going 4 and 4, it's okay, like it's still pretty decent, but it's not quite as high up as I would like to be. So we'll see how that goes. I don't think I'm ever going to have that full 1 lap qualifying pace for the the AMA tracks. They're just not really my style. They're very, very fast. But the GP tracks, where they're quite tight and technical, I managed to go top of quali against people like Skills, Jackson. To be fair, Hells didn't show up, so that's one position that I probably would have lost out on. But overall, I was just really, really happy with it. So we are sticking with the Honda for a while, unless in another week or 2 you see me make another video saying, oh my god, is this bike the new meta, etc. But I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be one of the people that just talks a load of rubbish and comes out with a new bike video every single week saying, is this the new best bike in the game? Because let's be honest, it's not true. There's probably 2-3 bikes max in each class that can actually be competitive right now, but 250 seems to be a lot more spread out than 4s. So originally 450 was just blue, and now I'm starting to see a little bit of a theme of a red going on, which I think is partly because of myself. I do apologise to those Honda riders before my video, but then partly because people are now finally having the time to test different bikes out, see what works well for them. And then in the 250 class, I think there's so many different options. Like in my opinion, you can go fast on Suzuki, TM, Yamaha, Honda, Kawi. Seen people like in the Husky as well. Not seen really much of the KTM and like virtually none of the gas at all. But they all seem just really, really viable and all fast in their own ways. And considering you get someone like Finn, who went top of the NA qualifying on a TM 250, I really love that. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens at round 2. And I need to get... I'm hoping that this year, when we get to Southwick for the AMA rounds, I'm hoping we get like a nice whooped out version of Southwick that we can just kind of jump and skim through the bumps on rather than like super choppy and beat up. Because right now, like JV's tracks are my most favourite tracks to play in the game. He's been killing it all year long. Doesn't matter what type of track it is that he releases, he seems to do it well. He builds the tracks to work really well with the game's physics as well. You know, like bumps aren't too sharp, ruts are at like correct angles, etc. And a lot of the lines, they all work together. Some crisscross over, some merge, but there's usually lots of different viable options as well. You're not just forced into one line. I found that at Parlour at round 1 on TFC's track, is it did end up getting a little bit one-line. It was a bit highway-ish. And then the only other issue with that track was that massive uphill that the bikes really just didn't like. But I'm not too sure of a way around that one, to be honest. So that's not something that I feel like we should really complain about. Because then if he changed it so it wasn't steep at all, so the bikes could get up it, you'd get people complaining that it's not a true replica. So I think he made the best out of a bad situation there. So I'm interested to play Hangtown. I did download the MX Simulator version of Hangtown today, and that is an incredible track. The ruts around there are absolutely amazing. So I'm interested to see how it goes for round 2 for us. And a little bit more difficult than what we're playing right now. As you can see around this track, it's actually just nice and easy and straightforward. I mean, we could try and send this and downside an extra bump or so. Other than that, the lines are quite self-explanatory. There is just a simple inside and outside in every corner. But I think when it comes to tracks these days, I really take into account either how experienced a track creator is, and then how much time they've put into a track as well. And to say that this has been done in 5 hours is nuts. Like, it's actually gross, because in terms of flow and overall fun right now, it feels better than majority of tracks that come out. Maybe some people try and go a bit too big for their first few tracks. Maybe they try and overdo it or try and exceed their own skill level or experience. And by all means, dream big. But I myself tend to be a bit more of a realist, or just set your goals low and avoid disappointment. That's the motto that we should all go by. But this is like really nice and fun and flowy, and I think this would be good in like a full lobby sense. I didn't take note on how many start gates there were, but I would like to guess that there's more than 20 or so, just based on the width of the start straight when I flew around in the intro. I mean, I can see them over there. I'm not going to try counting from this far away, but they're over there. It's big enough, and I'm running 4 Erode right now, which might seem a bit crazy. It seems a bit on the high end, but I think because of the amount of time that TC had to put into this track, I'm not sure how much messing around he done with the soil layers. So it's all sand traction, which usually does dig fairly deep, but right now you can see it's not getting too beaten up. You see 1 or 2 marks where I've been in certain corners where the bike's really applying force into the berms, but it's not getting bad at all. So I would even like to say you could probably go even higher than this, because that one corner there, that right-hander, I've taken the same line every lap, and there's not really much to it. It would be very interesting to get a full lineup to see how the track deteriorates. And oddly enough, I feel like tracks like these end up being like fan favourites just because they are so simple and straightforward. It's not an ugly track by any means. It's very, very simple. Gives you that kind of not backyard, you know what I mean, but like hidden away track kind of feel, just surrounded by trees. There's no sort of performance issues or lag or anything like that, where it's very simple as well, and the amount of models are quite limited. I think the size of the map is very, very small. I think he's utilised, I don't know what map size this is to be fair, but you can see we kind of go up to the very edges of the world border. And maybe this has given me a little bit of inspiration for what I want to try and do at the very beginning. And one thing that's quite impressive is it sounds like this was all made within GIMP. So if you're not sure on how like Hiat maps and creating tracks works, there's multiple ways around it. But one way is either in GIMP or Photoshop is, let's say that, how's the best way of wording it? So basically any colour that's white is like super high up raised, any colour that's black is really low down. So if you just make a map that's completely black, it'll just be completely flat. If you add some like very, very light grey or white bits, it'll be super, super high up. So there's a very fine line between trying to find the right colour gradients and stuff. So to do it in GIMP, which is a program that I opened up once or twice that really does confuse me. I find it such a confusing program. I much prefer Photoshop. Even more impressive, to be fair. Like all of these little rollers, they flow nicely. You can get a good rhythm going, doubling around corners. Maybe it's just because I'm on a 450. It makes life a little bit easier. But I'm sure on a smaller bike you could have some fun around here as well. And again, I'm a big advocate of us getting some more fun and free tracks too. I think a lot of people have been moaning at me in the comments recently as well, because I do cover mostly the paid stuff, but I just like showing off people's hard work. You know, and I'm still with the opinion of if people like really put a lot of time and effort into a track and it's deemed worthy of going up on the store, then why not show it off? You know, we're all a community here. We should be trying to back each other as much as possible. And yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying all the tracks that come out, to be honest. I mean, everyone makes my job a lot easier by putting out really good content for me to cover or review and show off to you guys. And you guys seem to really enjoy it as well and hearing my thoughts and opinions. You've had literally my raw take around this track as well. I've done nothing prior. And have I crashed yet? I mean, what's wrong with me? I was about to say I'm probably going to jinx myself the second my front end knifes for no reason. Yeah, I don't think I've even crashed yet, so very, very easy track. Or maybe it's just a Honda. Maybe it's the OP Honda setup that I've got now. Oh my Christ, yeah, now I've crashed. God damn it, what's wrong with me? Oh, this always happens. Even on every stream that I do as well. Like, I'll be tryharding in a race, and the second I open my mouth and start talking about how well I'm doing, some mistake will happen. I swear there's a trigger in my brain. Something else that I've been really struggling with recently, especially in like mid-motos, is if I'm in the lead, or even if I'm not in the lead, if I've had like the first 10 minutes of a race where I've been like flowing, going pretty fast and feeling good, the second I come up to lappers, I kind of fall apart, even if they're not in the way at all. If they do a very good job of moving out of the racing line and letting me by, I kind of like look at them to try and see what they're doing, and it gets me out of my own rhythm, and then I get in my head and start making mistakes after that too. So I really do need to try and find a way of working around that, because I'm not sure what it is. I mean, I done the NA version of Udavella at Sweden in the GPs the other day as well, and in Moto 1, as soon as I got to lappers, I don't know what happened. I just started crashing left, right and centre, but they hadn't actually done anything wrong. Like, they'd all get out the race line, but just as I was coming past, or just a second after I passed them, I would crash. And I feel guilty sometimes when lappers let me pass and then I crash straight away, because I feel like right now I'm impeding their race and their progress because they're having to slow down more than once for me. So I do apologise if you've ever been a victim of one of my crashes. I am sorry, but it's something that I need to work on. I'm sure with a bit more time, a bit more experience, it will hopefully work out overall. But I think recently lappers have been pretty good as of late in the quote-unquote pro races. You can't do anything about it in online lobbies, you know, people are just there to have a good time. They're really not worried about anybody else, and nor should they be, to be honest. When you just ride in public lobbies, it doesn't matter at the end of the world. Who cares if you win or lose? But when you're doing like proper organised events, I think that's when it does matter, and you need to have that bit of awareness around you. But yeah, lappers have been great for me recently. I don't know if it's just because it is me and they know that they're on camera and they might get put on blast by people if they're a bad lapper. Who knows? Because that has happened in the past. You know, if someone's accidentally taken me out, chat start saying like L's and etc. to them. So I'm sorry if that happens to you. But it's just part of the territory. Yeah, people have been good, and if you are someone that's wanting to get into the quote-unquote pro rating scene side of things, I would very much advise you download Max HUD, which I've just realised I've not got the map on. Let's put that on. By the way, W to have a working map on the track that took such a short amount of time to put together too. So have Max HUD on, so you have all the information at your disposal, so you've got a track map, you can see where people are at. You should have your flags on in settings as well, and they'll appear at the top right of your screen when you've got a blue flag. And then in the settings, go to the heading section. I can't remember which input tab it's on, but there's this option called heading, and I just set it to my D-pad, so I can look left and right, I can look behind on my touchpad on my controller as well. It just gives you a general sense of awareness that I think really helps in racing. People quite often say that I look behind me too much, especially when I'm in a battle. The reason that I do look behind is if I'm coming into a corner, I'll show you a perfect example in this next right-hander. If I can hear someone right on my cheeks here and I'm going into this corner and I'm going into it wide, I'll just have a quick glimpse back, because if they are kind of like there behind me on the right-hand side, then there's a high chance that they're going to dive, and instead of me lunging for the same line and us coming together and probably both crashing, a lot of the time it's better just to give up the position and then wait for them to make a mistake or try and make a pass back. And I think it's just part of heads-up riding overall, is just trying to just be aware, just know what's around you. There's a lot of things, to be fair. It's probably quite hard when you're concentrating on your own race, especially if you're a lapper that is in your own battle for position. I hate coming up against groups of lappers if they're like in a group of 2, 3, 4. It's so stressful, because the chance of you getting past all of them cleanly is usually very, very low. One thing that I do hate, oh, by the way, pet peeve, if you want to get into Lindsay's bad books, is if I come up to a group of 2 lappers, the one in front slows down, but the one behind takes advantage of them slowing down and makes a pass for a position. Absolute scumbag manoeuvres. I've had it in the past. I think it was in Supercross with Jams and someone else. Jam, like, we loop back onto the start straight, and it's a long start straight. And Jams was at the front of this battle with him and someone else, and he slowed down to let me pass. But the other guy carried on, so I absolutely yeeted him off the track in the next corner to give Jams his position back that he deserved to have. So there's my like Robin Hood-esque deed, just kind of giving back to the people that I have some respect for being good lappers overall. And there's one thing that you don't want to have in this community, and that is being seen as a bad lapper or a bad just rider, dirty rider in general. So try your best, it'll take you a long way. And overall, I feel like I've just been completely waffling again rather than talking about the track at hand. But then there's not too much to talk about. You know, for 5 hours, this is hella impressive. I think all of the rollers are... They're built well, you know, there's nothing that's given me a horrible kick. You can kind of double through them all really, really smoothly, and it just feels right. Definitely a 450 track overall. I think smaller bikes would be viable, but you might struggle to find yourself doubling through a few sections. The road I've cranked up to 4, but it doesn't seem to be digging too deep, so feel free to mess around with that and go a bit higher should you wish. And the colour on the off-track and on-track is quite pretty. It's not hurting my eyes at all, it's lovely. And then just nice simple trees around in the environment, and very, very impressive for 5-minute track overall. But give yourself a pat on the back, Mr. TC. Now you can sit there and dedicate a few months' work to hopefully another insanely high-quality track that we'll see on the shop, I hope. Because I do enjoy his tracks. He's released some very, very good ones. He had an Arena Cross track, which had a really fun sand track off in the distance on that. He'd done the old Cortland Dunes, which is... was it Gopher? I think it's Gopher Dunes. Yeah, in Canada, IRL track, which is good fun as well, with a very, very fun like Enduro/GNCS track on there as well. And yeah, just a big fan of his work. So thank you very much for releasing this for us and showing what can be done in such a short amount of time. You definitely inspired me a little bit to hopefully finally get on the track making bandwagon. And maybe in a few weeks or a few months, you guys will see an absolutely abysmal creation from yours truly, which I hope to get some good feedback on. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I certainly appreciate you sticking around watching to the end. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you're new. I would greatly appreciate it. Have a lovely rest of the day, wherever you're up to, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.